Hello everybody, welcome to the Zentangle Project Pack series. This is Project Pack number 8, and today I'm going to be working with a black apprentice tile. And for tools, I am going to be working with all of the gel pens that came with the Project Pack 8 supplies, as well as a graphite pencil, a white charcoal pencil, and then two tortillons for the corresponding pencils. So I'm going to be working with Munchin here. Munchin happens to be one of my favorite tangles. I love its simplicity, and today we're going to be taking it way outside the box with some really cool colors, thanks to our friends at the Sakura Pen Company. Love these new gel pen colors. They are just kind of a little bit different, really cool, unique colors, and I'm really happy with the way they're working with this Munchin. So I'm going to play with you guys a little bit here, where I'm going to say we're all going to be working with different colors. So what I want you to do is just take your pens and kind of mix them all up, don't look, and then lay them down 5 in a row, okay? And we will work with our pens going from left to right, okay? So I have mine gold first, but yours might be blue, maybe it might be green, maybe it might be purple. Whatever it is, we're gonna go from left to right, all right? So here's Munchin. So we're gonna pick up the first pen on the left-hand side, and really, in the end, it doesn't matter as long as you pick up a different color each time, all right? And if you want to just do exactly the same color as me, because that sounds safe, then that's totally fine too. And then the next time you do it, you could try something different. All right, so I have the blank side up of my apprentice tile, and I'm getting with this beautiful gold pen. If you haven't tested out the pens yet, I usually like to test out my gel pens like quick on the back or something to get the ink rolling. I happen to have been drawing with these for a while, so my ink is rolling quite nicely. And just to get it used to how it flows, another thing with gel pens is they take a little bit longer to dry than maybe a micron does, because the ink sort of sits up top the paper. That's what gives it its nice dimensional look. So you want to be cognizant or aware that they might take a minute to dry. So I am going to start off my Munchin, as I always do, by laying down a few dots, sort of like a constellation in the sky. All right, can you see those dots? And really just you need to see them, and some of them might be close together and some of them might be further apart, and that's okay. And the fun thing about Munchin is that you can actually add more dots later or sort of ignore some of them, so don't worry about if you have enough or not enough. Once you have a few down, it's enough to get started. And I like to work somewhere on the outside to get started, and I simply want to connect 2 of those dots to create a straight line, straightish, of course. And then once I have that line down, and you're free to just watch me for a minute if you like to get the hang of this, I'm going to start or find another dot that's nearby. So I've kind of located this one near that line that I've created. And I'm going to go from that dot, and I'm going to travel down to that line that I recreated. And I'm going to continue to create a series of lines that kind of work my way down this line. Now here's the trick here. I want you to make sure that you leave plenty of space in between, because we're going to be playing inside these spaces. So if you draw your Munchin really, really close together in this specific instance, then you're not going to have enough room to do the next steps. So I'm kind of giving you warning right now that you're going to want to give yourself plenty of room here. Something about equivalent to that. So this is our basic Munchin shape, and we're going to continue to create more of these that kind of evolve from one to the next. So I'm going to use the side of this Munchin shape to be my new landing strip, and I'm going to find a new dot, and I'm going to travel down this line Again, making sure I'm leaving this kind of space here. Another thing I want to tell you is when you're doing this, that you want to make your overall spaces kind of big. Always, when you're starting a new tangle, it's almost always the situation where if you draw too small, it's kind of hard to comprehend what's going on. So I always suggest to my students to draw a little bit bigger than you might think you would, and then it just gives you enough room to kind of play with things, process things. Turning your tile as you work, and breathing, of course. Always breathing. I remember one of the first yoga classes I took, I don't think I was breathing at all. I mean, of course I was. But I just remember like focusing so much that I was holding my breath in between each pose. And when I finally figured out how to incorporate breath into the flow and the postures, what a difference it made. And I try to do the same thing with my Zentangle work. So if you find yourself at any point in time wishing there was a dot somewhere so that you could create a different shape, just put that dot down there. There's no reason why you had to be like sort of pigeonholed into a certain routine. I do like how it sort of sets up the first couple for you. So again, being aware of the spacing. Maybe go this way this time. Don't forget that this ink does take a little bit longer to dry, so you really want to make sure you're not resting your hand on top of that. So you can see I just added another dot at this point just to add to my composition to see how much I want to make this grow. All right, let's see here. I might add a few more. Okay, so now I'm going to put down that first pen, and I'm going to put it in a different location than my other pens so that I know that it's a color I've already used. Now I'm going to pick up a second color. And again, just remember that the Munchin might take a few minutes to dry. And I am now going to just focus on one section here. I'm going to add a series of orbs. Don't jump ahead because I'm going to show you something. So I just want to fill this one space with orbs, kind of smushing them in till it gets too small, okay? So I can zoom in on that for you. All right. Now I'm going to skip a space and I'm going to go and do exactly the same thing. Okay, so now I have all of my second color down. I use this kind of orangey color, and I'm going to put that with my pile of pens I've already used. So basically what you want to do is use a different color each time we change to a new step. So next in that line I had purple, but you could use any of the colors that you had. We're kind of experimenting with how everybody will end up with a little bit of a different result. And obviously you're going to be needing to pause the video because the video is going to go a lot faster than you are, because this is some stuff that's going to take a little bit of time. So get into your zone, and kind of enjoy the process. So the next step is I'm going to put these little dots inside the orbs that I just created. And I think what I'll do is I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. But what I'm purposely doing is not filling to the edges. And by doing that, you get that little black rim around your orbs. And it's going to add to our look, and you can see even just by doing one. So these gel pens have a nice ink that flows out. And when you're doing these orbs, you have a nice way of sort of puddling up the ink and sort of playing with it a little bit. When I'm working with my gel pen, I definitely like to put it a little more upright than I would a normal pen, and I feel like that sort of helps with the flow of the ink and allows it to come out in this beautiful way. All right, so I finished up filling in all those orbs. It does take a little bit of time, but it's kind of a nice time to kind of zone out, right? So it looks pretty cool as is, and we always say in Zentangle that at any point in time that you decide that you are happy with the way your art is, you should just make that decision. You don't have to go ahead and do everything we're doing. I am going to move on to a next step. So next in line on my pens, I had a blue. You can follow along with me, or you can choose another pen that you have not used yet. And I am doing my pens right in order, just so I don't even have to think about it and see what happens. So I am going to go now into these leftover spaces. And like I said, if you're kind of enjoying the way it looks as is, you can hold off, kind of just watch along and then just shade later on, or you can do what I'm doing. And I'm simply going to go in now and do exactly the same thing we did before with a new color. This blue color is pretty awesome. This might be my favorite in the bunch. Again, really reminding yourself every time that the ink stays a little wet. I have played with these pens so many times and I still forget, and then I'm like, oh no. But you can usually recover. And I like to really smush these orbs in. Okay, so I got all my teal in here, all these beautiful orbs. Remember to take your time. You start to rush and you'll be able to tell. You want to put every orb down there as if it was your first. So just enjoy the process. If you need to take breaks, that's fine. So I have one pen left. It's kind of this limey green color, and I'm going to be using that one last. So I have all the other pens in my ones that I've already used, and I'm going to simply just step and repeat. We're going to go back into these orbs and put this, oh, fun, beautiful lime green color into all of these beautiful orbs I just put down. And again, these little blobs of ink are a great opportunity to just let that gel ink kind of puddle up. And you purposely don't want to go all the way to the edges, and I'll kind of zoom in for you so you can see that you want to really kind of take advantage of that fun little black area. It's this just nice detail, and it makes it a little bit easier when you're filling in because you're not going all the way to the edges. And they don't need to be perfect, of course. All right, so I finished up putting in all those beautiful little green orbs, and it looks pretty cool as is, but it's a little bit of one-dimensional, and I'm going to add some shading and highlight right now, which is my favorite part. And I am going to put down this pen. I'm all set with that. One thing that's really important at this point is that you make sure everything's dry. It has to be dry. And I'm going to grab my white charcoal pencil and my graphite pencil, and then the corresponding tortillons. I'm going to be using those. So just make sure it's dry. Maybe blow on it a little bit. Mine looks pretty good. And now I'm going to be using the side of my pencil, and I'm going to locate all of those original triangles, which can be a little tricky after we put all those in, but I think you can probably find them. It's basically where your orbs are probably the largest. And I am going to put graphite down right on that edge, okay? And it's going to look a little funny at first, and if you're in a certain kind of light, it might reflect, but don't worry about that. And I want to put a nice hard edge down like that. Can you see? So I'm putting my point towards the edge, using the side of the tip of the pencil, and putting a nice thick layer down, okay? And now I'm going to locate all of the bottom triangles here. So it might take you a second to like turn your tile and figure out where that is on each one. And then you almost want to sort of go really hard towards the edge and then work your way up just a little bit, okay? And I'm going to work my way all the way around. Again, really just kind of, you want to use the side of your pencil though, because if you use the sharp tip on these gel pens, they're going to scratch lines. So you want to use that side to get that nice soft edge, okay? And it looks a little funny at first. We're going to be buffing this out with our tortillon, so just bear with me, okay? And graphite's great because you can always put it down in layers, so you can start with it one way and then go back and put darker layers down on it. Okay, so I think I have all my graphite down now. And like I said, I put that down pretty aggressively, but if you're more timid, you can always put more down later. And I'm going to go back with my tortillon that was for my graphite, and I'm actually just going to kind of go right back over it and kind of buff it out a little bit and then introduce it into the space a little bit more. Soften it and just gradually work it up. I just love the way the graphite looks on top of these gel pens. It kind of just creates this really cool effect. Okay, so we're almost there, and that's already creating some really cool dimension. Super neat. I'm so excited here. But now I'm going to add another little bit here. I'm going to go back with my white charcoal, and I'm going to put some white charcoal just in at the tips here. And I'm just kind of like feathering it out from the point. So you want your white charcoal to be nice and sharp. Make sure you don't let your hand rest on this either until after we're going to go over this with our tortillon too. So I'm kind of starting from the point and sort of feathering towards the center. So many layers here. I just love all the depth this creates. It's so interesting and curious what's happening underneath. It isn't just a little bit of gel pen. This is going beyond. I love it. Okay, I think I have all of those done. Now I'm going to go back with my tortillon. Get rid of all the sort of dust, kind of work it into the paper surface. So you want your middle to kind of stay untouched. So you still have that kind of raw color in the middle. All right, so we're getting close here. So the last thing I like to do, and this is kind of optional for you, these colors are so fun, is I like to go find the first color I used, and the first color I used was this gold, which is a color I did my Munchin in, and that might be different for you if you guys kind of played along with the randomness. And I like to go back over sort of just the tips of these triangles, right where the white is. And you could do this any way you want, but sort of like bringing back that original color over everything. And I'm not really going all, I'm just kind of feathering that out too. To me, it just sort of redefines some of the structure, pulls it out. Let's see here. Again, being aware of all the wet ink. Ooh, so fun. And I think last but not least, sign my work. I think that's it, folks. This is one cool Munchin, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not really sure. And here is another one I did earlier with different colors. So, have fun, guys. See you later.